now is the time when everyone's getting serious. So if you're watching this video, time to get serious is right now. Get those.
Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Chris Fox from Yards After the Catch. You guys see the Armchair Athletics. You know, we started that up as well. Go check out www.thearmchairathletics.com. See all the great things that we are doing, to include the Trenches Fantasy Show. Check these guys out right here. Draft Day Dice. You know about them. You've heard about them. Now you can play with them. They will rock your draft, let me tell you. You haven't drafted that kind of chaos until you've tried these things out. Go check them out, draftdaydice.com. All right, hey, look, we are going big today. We got, you guys know this guy down there at the bottom, fantasyfootballhustler.com. You've seen him all over the place. I think you just hit, didn't you just hit like 1,000 uploads on YouTube?
On YouTube, yeah. So 3 years, 1,000 uploads. I did the average. It was between 28 and 29 videos a month over the last 3 years.
That's insane. That's work, kids. That is work. That's how you get stuff done. It is the 420 Fantasy Football Hustler. Welcome to the show. Thank you for doing it, to be honest. When we had first talked earlier this season and kind of reached out and discussed things, and you can find his videos on the Armchair YouTube channel, or just go over to his fantasyfootballhustler.com, and he's got all 1,000 of those videos sitting there. But you had made the comment that the future of fantasy football is IDP. IDP is the future of fantasy football, and you've got a lot of followers. I see it in a lot of places. IDP has been around as long as fantasy football has, but it's really starting to come up. So I kind of wanted to talk with you a bit about why you think IDP is going to take over, and you know what you think is so amazing about it compared to regular. I know you don't like one quarterback, but other than that.
Well, it's kind of just like the evolution of like fantasy football. Like that's why I think that like IDP is going to be the next big thing, because like, you know, we go back like 30 years or so, people were playing where it was only touchdowns, you know, that matters. Then it upgrades, you know, you start getting in points per reception, you know, that starts making a difference. You start adding in yards. Like I know there's a lot of people who like think that's weird to like not play with like yards, but that's how it used to be. Like it used to be literally you get points off your touchdowns and that's it. So then it turns into more stats being more relevant. You know, PPR becomes a thing. Now people are moving more into Superflex. You know, like Superflex has been around forever. I started playing Superflex in 2006, but now it's like all these people who, I'm not saying they're getting bored with their style of leagues that they're in, but I think people are just getting a little bit more addicted to fantasy football. You know, they're finding new versions of the game that they're used to playing, and it's just more fun once you add in more wrinkles, you know. And I really feel like the next big wrinkle after Superflex is going to be IDP, because there's almost nothing else that you can do at that point without bringing in literally the other half of football. And I know we have team defense, but a lot of people have a lot of beefs with team defense. I think it's like the cool thing to remove kickers, remove team defense, and then you make an offense-only league.
No, that's so true.
So long before people get bored of these offense-only leagues, they want more.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you on that. The key word there is, like you said, evolution, how the game is going to keep changing and keep changing. This is one of the ways, again, it's been around, but more people are going to start looking at it now to kind of get away from traditional, especially the people who don't really care for Superflex and want to take it to the next level, because I think that's what IDP does. You know, Superflex was kind of invented to, in my opinion, to add more excitement, to add more players, to up the scores and stuff like that. But it does it does create an awkward feel when you're playing in a Superflex to have extra roster positions playing in it. It does become kind of trivial. It's like it creates big scores weekly, but you know, what's the point of having a bench if I can play most of the bench anyway? So I think IDP is another way to really expand your skill set as you evolve in fantasy sports. What do you think is like the most important thing to think about for people that are just making this crossover into IDP?
Well, if you're creating the league, like if you're going to be the one to put the league on your back and be the commissioner, got to go check out some of my videos, just because I explain like a lot of things, you know, in depth. but a lot of it's the scoring system. Like a lot of people, I try to talk to as many people as I can who like, I hate IDP. I'll never play in an IDP league again. And I'm trying to figure out why, you know, people think like that. Cause there's always a reason. It's not just, I tried something, it was super fun, but now I hate it. You know, like never happens like that. And it usually comes down to the scoring. Just really not like the scoring is so low that it doesn't really affect the game to where it's kind of just pointless. And there's a lot of people who they'll maybe start a league and it'll only be like 1 or 2 defensive spots. Like you try to take the team defense mentality and move it over, you know, just change the spot from one team defense to one IDP. It's also going to be stupid because like we're talking about 12 IDP players, but there's like literally as many defensive players as there is offensive players. So just imagine if you had like one offensive spot and that was it, and you had to make one choice on one offensive player, you know, to put in there. It just wouldn't be that fun because you'd be able to go pick people off waivers like it's nothing. Everyone would just be super stacked, you know, so it's like not even making a difference. So I think that those are the 2 big things to really like focus on if you're the commissioner. If you're a player, just focus on the stats, just tackles, assisted tackles, sacks, interceptions. I mean, those are like some of the main categories that you're going to be looking at, and tackles are really the main category.
Yeah, and it really just comes down to knowledge, like you said. If you're automatically going to dismiss IDP, like you said, and say I'm never going to play it, it's probably because you haven't tried to learn about it, because it's really not that much different. It's just defensive stats, defensive scoring. Obviously, scores different than offenses, but like you said, there's the standard scoring things there. You know, you got receptions versus tackles. You've got touchdowns versus interceptions or defensive touchdowns. Things like, I mean, there's correlations between both sides, and it's really just kind of expanding your knowledge base and becoming comfortable doing something new. You mentioned, you know, that you do have a lot of content. I mean, 1,000 videos, you've got a lot of content about a lot of things, but you're absolutely right. Like there is a lot of content that you do with IDP, and it's not just the mock drafts and stuff that you're doing now, but you really do take the time to kind of explain this to people and get people fired up and interested about it. What got you kind of like fired up and making the crossover yourself from when you first started into the IDP?
So I didn't even make a crossover. Like the first league I played in was IDP, and I honestly just thought that that's how everybody played.
Just hooked from the start. Like
with 2 quarterbacks, it was IDP, and I literally just thought that that's how everybody played, you know, because to me it made sense. I didn't know anything about fantasy football, so I mean I wasn't jaded to anything. I didn't have any like preconceived notions. It was just we were playing with offensive players and defensive players, and that was just how it is. And it's really not hard, because if you know how to work the waiver wire for offense, it's literally the exact same thing, except you're just looking at defensive players, and the points are from different stats, but it shows you what the stats are, shows who's the high, you know, free agents on the week, like points wise, and literally everything. I think people get nervous about learning like a new crop of players, but if you're paying attention to offense like a lot, you're probably paying attention to defense too, because if you know that you're supposed to start a running back versus a certain defense, probably because their linebackers aren't that solid.
Right.
You know, I mean, there's a lot of correlations on why offensive players do what they do, and it relates like directly to the defense.
Well, I mean, and if you're playing, if you're still doing the team defense thing, like you said, then really you are watching IDP. You just don't know it.
Yeah.
Because if you're gauging a defensive team, you're looking at all those IDP stats. You're looking at sacks. You're looking at tackles for loss. You're looking at interceptions and all these things that IDP scores. You just haven't broken it down to individual players yet.
And if you watch football, every single offensive play has a defensive play as well, unless
yeah. And it's not. And IDP kind of. You would think it separates the players in the league, but it really kind of makes it easier for everybody to get a piece, right? So when there's a top defense, it's not just one coach, one owner that has the top defense. Everybody can get a piece of that top defense. You know, one guy's got a linebacker, one guy's got some defensive end, and another guy's got, you know, one of the cornerbacks on that, and everybody can kind of feed off that same defense and you know, help themselves out. And then you just got to.
one of the things I like the most is with team defense, depending on the scoring, it's really easy to start getting into negatives. You know, if there's not a lot of big plays from the defense and they're just, they give up more than 21 points or whatever, a lot of times you're getting like 1 or 2 points, or maybe you're even going into the negatives, depending on how some of these scoring systems are set up. With IDP, you're never going to have a player go negative. They can get a 0. But I will tell you, if TJ Watt gets like a sack, strip, fumble, and takes it back to the house, you will be doing more backflips than you ever would be if it happened and you had the Steelers team defense.
Well, I mean, that's actually a great point, because now you get to watch the whole game and be excited about the entire game rather than just the offenses that are playing, because all your players are on offense. Now you get to watch both sides of the ball, and you can, like, you're completely engaged the entire Sunday, especially if you've got offensive players going against defensive players. Like, holy cow.
The most fun thing, I'll tell you, it's a very, very small thing, but when you play an IDP, you'll learn to respect it. You got a running back and a linebacker on the same on opposite sides of the ball.
Yeah,
they're on your squad. Your running back cracks off a 10 to 15 yard rush. You get those 10 to 15, the point and a half or whatever, and then your linebacker comes in and tackles them. And then you're just getting like double dipping, on that.
Yeah,
play. It just feels nice.
Talk about handcuffs and having the quarterback and the receiver for the same team. Now you got to factor in. Now you can factor in things. Having the same wide receiver and defensive back on the same team, things like that. So you're getting double points, like you said, for these matchups. That Kansas City Buffalo playoff game would have been a points monster if you had the right matchups on that one last year. Yeah, no, IDP is exciting. What site? So I think like one of the obstacles for people trying to get into IDP, setting up leagues and stuff like that right now, is that not every site is efficient at or even offering an IDP option. What would be your recommendation for people trying to get out there and play some IDP games? Where do you want to go to play that?
So, well, every platform actually offers it. If you're talking about where you're going to find the advice, the reason why I started doing a lot of IDP advice is because there's not a lot out there. I've a couple IDP podcasts and stuff, that I listened to in the past. It was weird because it was almost like they didn't watch football and they're just stat tracking. And that was something that just kind of turned me off, because I watch all the games,
So, yeah.
That's just the kind of knowledge that I'm bringing, is like, literally, I'm someone who over the last 10 years, minus maybe a couple weeks here or there, I'm literally watching every single game, like, as it's live. Like now, I got my computer set up to where I got 2 screens going on. Literally every single game, is going on at once. And then we got Red Zone up.
Yeah.
So, I'm not going to toot my own horn, but as far as like IDP knowledge and as far as like helping people one-on-one, I don't know if there is a better resource. So I have, we call it the 420 crew. It's like our 420 fantasy crew. If you go to 420crew.org, you can go get into our community. And the biggest thing within the community is the one-on-one help from me. Like, this is all I'm doing, and I take it seriously, like the one-on-one advice, because there's not a lot of people who do that, and I want to bring that just to like a different level. And every single platform you can play IDP on. You just
but not all of them are the same, right? Like even for just regular ones. I'm not a big ESPN person. Other people might be. Sleeper has really changed the game. Sleeper is very popular right now, very customizable. I like Sleeper a lot. Yahoo's kind of in the middle, depending on what kind of league you want to play in. But like, where do you play your IDP leagues?
Sleeper. I'm all about Sleeper right now.
Yeah.
On those other ones, if you change the scoring, you can get it to exactly like the way that I do it. Sleeper has actually adopted the IDP 1, 2, 3 scoring as their default scoring, and that's the one that I've been using for like years and years. So that's and actually I haven't been using that one for years and years. I linked up with Jordan Rains with the IDP Army, and he'd been working on building this defensive scoring out to make it real easy. There's a lot of scoring where it's like half a point for an assisted tackle, or 0.75 for an assisted tackle, 1.5 for a solo.
I like fraction points. I'm a big fraction point person. I love them.
There's some people who aren't, and I get that. So at least with what he did, and it was so similar to the IDP scoring that I kind of like tweaked for my leagues that I've been doing for like 10 plus years at this point. There's only a couple minor differences. So I switched everything to the style that he's doing, because it almost didn't make a difference. It was like my super big plays, TDs and safeties were worth like 10 points. He has them for 6. So it was like literally just changing a couple things, you know, making them.
It's really just going to change your point totals. That's all it's going to do. It doesn't matter if you put a 1 or a 10 or 100 on there. It still comes out the same at the end of the end of the week.
There's not a lot of TD scored, you know, in the entire defensive world. You know, maybe under 20 or something. But yeah, that's where I'm going to suggest is going to be Sleeper, because literally, if you are listening to me and you know, taking in some of the content that I'm doing, everything is based around that scoring that Sleeper has as their default. Everybody else, they haven't created their own scoring. They literally just use team defense scoring, and then it gets moved over to IDP. And that's why I think a lot of people don't like it or get turned off, because that scoring just sucks for an individual player.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at, and kind of wanted to know where, you know, help people find a good place to play IDP and get into it so that they will enjoy it. You know, there's nothing worse than trying something new on a crappy site, and then, you know, you don't get the experience you should, and so you give up on it, and now you just missed out on all the fun. What's that site again where people can link up with you and your team one-on-one?
420crew.org. That brings you to my Patreon. It's like the same thing, if you guys know who the fantasy footballers are, you know, same platform that they use, you know, for their Foot Clan leagues. And yeah, I'm just pretty much everything that the footballers did. I mean, they kind of laid like a really nice path, so I'm going on that path, but I'm making it a lot more than just single QB talk, because they're catering to the masses. I'm more catering to like the real degenerates, you know.
They need they need a leader. Darn it. No, I appreciate you coming on the show today. Again, fantasyfootballhustler.com. It's right there. Go check out his videos to learn everything you want to know about IDP, but to see mock drafts and just get really great content. There's a lot of knowledge out there, and even when he's just having fun, he's giving you things that you need to win your fantasy season. He can definitely help you do that. Go check him out. I'd love to do some more IDP talk. We're doing some ADP videos and stuff. We'd love to have you back if you're willing to come on and kind of incorporate that stuff. That'd be awesome. Appreciate it. You talked about revolutionizing the game. If you want to revolutionize your league, Draft Day Dice will definitely do that for you. It will definitely change the way you play. And we definitely went off the rails when we created the Trenches fantasy football reality competition. Check out our Facebook if you want to apply to be on it. $5,000, but be prepared, because this is unlike anything you've ever seen before. We are putting people through the ringer, and if you get that $5,000, you're gonna earn every single penny. You're gonna know that you did the work. So check us out. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on all those places, just like the 420 Fantasy Football Hustler. Thank you again for joining us, and we'll have you back on. Anything you want to throw out there as we walk out the door?
Now is the time when everyone's getting serious. So if you're watching this video, time to get serious is right now. Get those mock drafts in. And if it's in a regular redraft league, don't draft before week 3 of the preseason, especially if you're only in 1 or 2 leagues. Just wait. Have the patience.
Yeah, that's a big thing. A lot of people draft early, and that's fine, mock draft and stuff like that. And there's an element. I know a couple guys that's part of the experience is drafting early, and that's okay if that's what you're trying to find and that's what you're trying to do. But yeah, if you're playing for the season, just wait. Just, I know you want to draft. I know. So get to the season first. We definitely are big supporters of that strategy. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us. Thanks again, especially to you, Alex, the 420 Fantasy Hustler. IDP, it's about to reign supreme. Get on board right now. Go see this guy to learn how to do it. We'll see you guys next time. I'm Chris Fox for 420 Fantasy Football Hustler. We'll see you guys next time. Be safe. Happy fantasy football, and everybody.
Peace out.